Welcome back to
Super Anime Bros.
I'm Charles.
I'm Donald.
And I'm John.
Today's topic, we'll be talking about my favorite character, Spyro the Dragon.
I've been really looking forward to this one. I have no idea about Spyro, and we haven't talked about him before, so
But I already don't know that much about Spyro.
Keep in mind,
so we're gonna get a lot of information today. It sounds.
I do know a little bit from him from Skylanders, and that's it.
yes, a little bit of Skylanders, but I'll be referring to the first three games that I grew up with, which would be Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon.
Nice. So these are all video games, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, catch us up from the beginning. Where did Spyro come from? What kind of video game system did it start on? And who's Spyro?
Spyro the Dragon was like I'm gonna say Generation 1 PlayStation, and as far as where he came from, I don't have that much info, but basically the first Spyro game, he is tasked with freeing all the dragons who were imprisoned in Crystal by Nasty Nork. So
Nasty Nork. That sounds.
So he goes from different worlds to freeing all the dragons, collecting treasure, collecting dragon eggs from thieves, and so that's pretty much, and that's how the first one goes. And then the second.
So what's the first one called?
It's just called Spyro the Dragon.
Spyro the Dragon.
So, and then Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. It starts off with him and Sparks in the world of dragons, and it's raining, so they decide to go on vacation, and they get intercepted by Professor Allura and Hunter in the world of Avalar. He gets intercepted in the world of Glimmer, which is one of the homeworlds which is one of the many worlds of Summer Forest. Basically, with Spyro Ripto's Rage, it goes with seasons, but they don't cover all 4 seasons. They just do Summer Forest, Autumn Plains, and Winter Tundra. There is no spring mentioned in there.
Which is kind of like today.
Yeah.
The first day of spring and we have snow on the ground.
And then Spyro Year of the Dragon would work pretty much the same as instead, and we were introduced to some new characters, Bianca and Sorceress from the Forgotten Worlds of the dragons. And once again, Spyro is tasked with collecting the dragon eggs. Except in this Forgotten World, all the magic is disappearing, so that's why the Sorceress tasked her minions, which are the Rhinox, to abduct the eggs and bring them back to the world. In reality, she doesn't want to save them. She wants to use their wings to make a spell so she can live forever. And when Bianca gets a notice of this, she turns on the Sorceress and helps Spyro and Hunter in defeating the Sorceress.
So remind me again, where does Bianca come in? What game?
Basically at the beginning of Spyro Year of the Dragon, while all the dragons, including Spyro and Hunter, are sleeping, she and a bunch of Rhinox come up through a gopher hole, and take all the eggs.
Yeah, that's kind of how you were born, right, Donald? So you came out of a gopher hole?
No.
Oh.
So
just joking.
And when she's on her way with the last egg, she steps on Hunter's tail, and that alerts them of what's going on, and so she escapes with the last egg, but one of the elder dragons tries to go after her and gets stuck in the gopher hole. And and then that world, we're introduced to different worlds, but this time they refer to the night times of day.
Mm.
Like I want to say, the first world is sunrise spring. Second one is midday garden. Third is evening lake, and then the last one is midnight mountain. So we have 4 worlds in Year of the Dragon, where we had 3 seasons in Ripto's Rage.
Okay, in the Spyro video games, is Spyro connected? Well, when is the Spyro? Well, the Skylanders games connect in from the Spyro games because
I think the Skylanders is like a whole different genre.
well, it
doesn't connect with the main Spyro games because
it does connect into Spyro's origin story.
It does, but in a way, Skylanders, Spyro Adventures is like, and the ones from it is like it's a whole different series of games.
Well, yeah, but Spyro is like the main character of the story.
Well, in his game of Skylanders, but you forget there's Skylanders Giants and Trap Team and other Skylander games. Granted, Spyro got his own Skylanders game, which would be Spyro Adventures, but the others are he's not really the main character in the others.
Yeah, but there was a Skylanders TV show where they actually connected.
Yeah, Skylanders
everything.
Academy.
Yeah, in that show they actually connected everything about Spyro. They even connected how he was born because remember in the games they never really tapped into his origin story, and they did in the first episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he was a baby.
Well, technically, he's like.
And then these goblins were thinking about eating Spyro because of that situation. But when he saw that this good wizard, he took him in and raised him like a son.
Oh wow! So
and that's sort of his origin story.
Unless
like I said, Skylanders the TV show is connected to everything Spyro. That's why we don't see like Spyro having his own show because they already connected everything about Spyro.
Well, yeah, all I've ever played was like the Skylanders Giants.
So it looks like for me, I'm having trouble understanding the connection to the Skylanders, so I'm just going to read out the list of the Spyro games and then tell me how they connect. So the first game that was released back in 1998 was just Spyro the Dragon. Charles talked a lot about that. Weirdly enough, that was the year I was born. And then Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage.
However, it was in England. It was called Gateway to Glimmer.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so
that's always fascinating.
We called it Ripto's Rage out in the U.S.
Okay, I like Gateway. What was it? Gateway
to Glimmer is the world that he ends up in when he gets intercepted from Dragon on his way to Dragon Shores.
Mm-hmm. Which one do you like better?
It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
The gameplay is the same. It's just a different title.
Mm-hmm. So we've got Ripto's Rage, that's the one that was called Gateway to Glimmer in England. Then you've got Spyro Year of the Dragon. And then after that, they switched developers, or publishers. So now
because the first 3 Spyro games were created by Insomniac Games.
Excellent. And then we've got Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. Do you know who that was made by? Or published by, at least?
I think... No, I don't want to say Naughty Dog. Travelers... No, yeah, it wasn't that either. I don't know.
So it was developed. I was gonna say I would be surprised if you did that 2 in a row. Equinox Digital or Check 6 Studios, and then it was made by Universal, and then Eurocom made Spyro: A Hero's Tale. That was in 2004, and then Spyro: The Reignited Trilogy, and this is my favorite. developer name. Toys for Bob.
Yeah, Toys for Bob.
Yeah.
But now here's the thing that I wanted to bring up about Toys for Bob, and
Yeah.
from the Reignite trilogy to the originals,
Mhm.
is what even though Toys for Bob updated the graphics and everything,
Mhm.
I don't like the way they censored out certain levels.
Like what?
Well, let's see. In the first Spyro game, when he travels, I want to say Twilight Harbor or Nork Cove. There's these Nork commandos and Nork
Which is
soldiers,
half gnome, half orc, right?
I think.
A Nork.
So they would shoot at Spyro, and when they shoot at you, the player as Spyro, you would see little triangles because they had machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess nowadays, since censorism is so touchy, Toys for Bob had to revamp it, and now instead of machine guns, the Norks have some sort of I don't know,
Crossbows?
No, it's they still shoot it, but instead of bullets, it's like some kind of
Blaster?
I want to say goo.
Goo.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You made the same face.
Yeah, they
Ugh.
fired. That's what I hate. That's what I don't like about the Reignite trilogy, especially on that particular level, is because of the censorism. Because they had instead of shooting with guns, they have like goo blasters, and they blast you with
Goo blasters.
I don't know. It looks like glue. It looks like goo. Okay.
No, I totally.
So
I'm just laughing that that all of
You
the
mean like
things that they
ooze?
went to, it went there.
Yeah, ooze or something. That's
Yeah.
that's what. But
That
Well,
would
at
be
least
really
it's
funny
not-
because they could call it an Uzi.
At least it's
Sorry.
not snot.
yeah. So, but the gameplay, the graphics, perfect. It's just the way they had to censor out the shooting in that level.
Yeah, I totally get that. So they kind of updated it. They kind of took a little bit of the fun away, you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that was just in the Reignited trilogy?
Yes.
Okay. So then after that, that's when they kind of... Oh, they had handheld specific games too. So did you play those, like Season of Ice,
Season of
Flame?
Ice, Season of Flame. I played actually Season of Flame.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also Spyro Cortex Conspiracy. That was like and then there was the Crash Bandacoot game that was Ripto's that involved Crash Bandicoot fighting Ripto.
Mm.
So yeah, Purple. There was Crash Bandicoot Purple, and there was Spyro Dragon Orange.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever created those games had figured something combining the two characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Can I ask you, Charles, about something about well, like in the Spyro games, did they ever did any other like other video game crossovers with Spyro?
no, I don't think so.
They never did like Bandacoot with Spyro.
I can't really say. I don't.
Let me
But
look that up.
yeah, probably had to look that up. But
Hey, can you just go, John, look it up.
look it up.
John, look it up.
Chad, look it up.
Crossover episodes.
No, crossover games.
Crossover games.
Between
Sorry.
Spyro and Crash Bandicoot.
See, I always, whenever I say crossover. Oh, yeah, you're right. Crash.
I know he made an appearance. I know Spyro makes an appearance in Crash Team Racing.
You're right.
Nitro
That's-
fueled.
You guys actually got it right on the dot. See, this is why you guys have a
So
podcast. And
so
I don't.
Bandacoot did crossover with
Crash Bandicoot Purple and Spyro Orange, which you guys already said, and that was 2004. And then Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled in 2019.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was even another game you guys are all forgetting.
What?
Well,
What's
it is a Spyro game, but well, this was the only place where you can get it with a meal with McDonald's. The McDonald's mostly had like little handheld games for Spyro, and technically they had a Spyro game for with the kids meals.
Dude, no way. Yeah, I remember this. Sorry to cut you off, but I just looked it up and I found the pictures. Dude, I remember not only playing these in the car with my friends when they came out, but I remember like seeing them in my parents' van when we traded it in. I was like, "Oh no, there goes my Crash game."
Yeah, because it was from McDonald's.
Yeah, okay. I totally forgot about that. It looks like they had like little cases too.
Yeah, they did this like
Can
for
somebody elaborate on that? Because I don't think I've ever experienced that.
Yeah, so basically
Well, I have
what
technically until I had it like for a long time until it unaccidentally the batteries died and also
So it was like a little gaming, like.
I know gaming. It
Hey, can
it
we
looked
pause
like
real
a
quick. Do you hear that? It's a van. Yeah.
as was saying because like they were like old like they were like a foldable open game things where you actually could play it like a little like it looks like mostly like a little game, but it also opens like a book, but where you can get to play the game and just play the Spiral game from. It was like a little handheld gaming thing, but it was fun. They actually did this for two video games before they did this the whole games of Spiral and Bandacoot. They mostly made a lot of games for the whole parts of that universe.
Mm-hmm. The way it kind of looked was like a little case.
And even I remember one of those teeny tiny games, but this was also from Sega, and Sega made a huge deal with McDonald's with for Sonic, and they actually had these Sonic little games.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, see, I remember having the Crash ones. I never got a Spyro one.
Well, I was the one that got a Spiral one, and actually that one was purple.
Yeah, that one was purple. So like,
and I also even had a Bandacoot one, and that was orange.
So you would get like if you got a Happy Meal, you would get it in this little bag, and then like inside the bag, it looks like a video game case, and then you just open it up, and then the game's already there. So you have your screen, and they look just black and white. That's what
but you get to still play as the character,
which is still really cool that you can just get that in your game. They did that through 2005.
Yeah, even Burger King also did this for one of the you remember the movie Shrek, right?
Shrek?
You know, Shrek. They actually did that for his first movie, and they actually did like a little handheld game for it.
Yeah, that's
for the
awesome.
movie.
I think we should officially petition DreamWorks to rename it Shrek 5.
No, it should be called Shrek.
Scrambled Shrek. Shregs and bacon. Sorry,
I have a speech impediment.
No, oh no, I thought you just thought it was Shrek.
No, I just because I mostly have a speech impediment.
Yeah, I did not mean that as a means of making fun of you. I'm sorry.
So getting back on topic.
Yeah, get back on topic.
I also had the luxury even playing the Bandacoot games. Well, actually, the first Bandacoot game I played was Crash Bandicoot Warped, and that was created by Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog.
And somehow I went backwards to Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. But I never really played the first Crash Bandicoot.
Interesting.
Until it got until it got a modern update.
So can you guys remind me? So we went through the list of the games and then also some of the extra games that they did with McDonald's. Can you guys tell me how does the Spyro? It looks like after. Yeah, how does Spyro relate to Skylanders? And when did that happen? Do you know?
Like I said, I think the Skylanders universe was like a whole different storyline.
Like a spinoff, right?
Like a spinoff.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's mostly but in the games well, if you watch the show on Netflix of Spiral, with Spiral in Skylanders, it actually tells you about his origin story and all the other characters, and they're mostly Spiral's friends and mostly trying to become the next Skylander heroes to protect the world from a lot of dangerous evil.
Well, I think the
In the
main
world.
evil is chaos.
Yeah, you mean that little guy, that little bold guy?
Yeah.
Well,
isn't he like the main antagonist?
Technically he is, and I also know he has that little green elf.
I don't think he's an elf. I think he's a troll, goblin or a troll.
Yeah, but also rest in peace to that actor who voiced that elf. Well, that goblin.
Goblin. I think he's the goblin.
Well, that character was voiced by. Well, you remember that guy who played Deaf from Family Guy?
Yes.
The first Deaf,
Nort,
not the new voice of.
Yeah, Nort McDonald.
Yeah.
Norm McDonald.
Yeah, he was in Skylanders.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was in Skylanders.
Norm McDonald
Yeah.
was in Skylanders.
Yeah, he was in Skylanders.
Yeah, he was the first voice of Death in Family Guy, and he also had a role in The Fairly Odd Parents as Norm the Genie.
And he was also in Jack and Jill. He's been in a lot of other movies.
Oh, Glumsh. Okay, is this the little goblin you guys are talking about?
Yeah.
He played Glumshanks?
Yeah.
Dang, that's wild. He's been all over the place. I just didn't know he was...
But it's kind of sad, though. In real life, he's passed away.
I just like the way he made an appearance in Family Guy. You know, like Peter fakes his death, and Death comes knocking on the door.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird, though, in Family Guy. They didn't keep his voice.
Peter's like all stupid. He's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Christina Flockhart. Who do you think I am? I'm Death.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird they changed his voice, though.
Well, sometimes you have to, because once the original voice actor kicks the bucket or something, they have to recast the character or just kill him off.
Yeah, but they didn't kill off Death. They literally just recasted his voice.
Yeah, and that sometimes happens.
Yeah, but do you like the new voice of Death, or you think?
I don't know. I mean, take the fact that
because I'm wondering who voices the new voice of Death.
You remember that they one time killed off Brian?
Yeah, but
and then we had Vinny the dog.
Yeah, and also that character, that the actor who voiced Vinny.
Yeah,
he's dead too.
Yeah.
The curse of the dog.
And then they brought back Brian.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying the actor who voiced Vinny from Family Guy, he's dead in real life.
That is unfortunate.
Because
Rest in peace.
Well, he died and he was old. He passed away. He was from The Sopranos.
I think it was Joe Pesci.
Yeah, he passed away.
Wait,
though.
what? Hold on, I don't watch any of these shows, so it's so funny to like back up Norm Macdonald with Joe Pesci. But I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's
show.
kind of sad though, because when he passed, it was kind of like sad though, because everyone knew him like from some of his teeny bits of roles, but when people wanted Brian back,
Sopranos. I think he was also in My Cousin Vinny.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that why they named him Vinny?
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. No one knows. No one knows yet.
Nobody knows.
But Brian was so much of a big fan favorite. They said, "Bring him back. Some ways, bring him back."
Yeah, which involves Stewie going back in time and saving him from the car from the car hitting him, and then that particular Stewie's timeline was erased.
Yeah. But I'm wondering who was driving that car.
Who knows? It's probably like one of the mysteries that they would never answer.
But even for some like other video games right now, it's sort of like getting interesting for like every single parts of the Bandacoot universe. Like right now, like for Skylanders, they actually had a real big great cast in Skylanders.
No, and they had some spin-offs like Giants, Trap Team.
Yeah, who was that one with that magma guy with the fire?
I think that was just
because he was one of Bandacoot's. Well, not Bandacoot. Spyro's friends.
Um,
And I also know who voiced them.
I don't know. I think it was like Eruptor.
Can you look him up?
I
Yeah.
think his name was Eruptor.
The one that is has
the fireball things.
And
I think
also,
his name was Eruptor or Rup.
Okay.
and
So
and also we all know who voices the Ruptor. Do you know who it is from
No.
the show?
I'm a total noob with all of this stuff.
Well, everyone knows who voices him, but if you watch I'll give you guys a huge.
Might as well just tell us because we're not gonna guess.
Okay,
this is fun. I like
It's
to
from
guess.
it's from another big huge TV show. It was on AMC. He also played this character we all know from two shows. Well, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Mike.
Mike.
You know Mike.
Oh yeah. So
Well,
who did he voice?
He voiced the Ruptor.
I think that's what his name is.
Because
anyway.
even for him, he is so perfect as that character. He was meant to play that character.
He was meant to be Ruptor.
And even right now, he's even doing big roles in other shows. Right now, he's in Kite Man, Hell Yeah, as the bartender, and he's also now in Invincible.
Dang.
Yeah, he's in the Invincible universe, and now it's actually building up his career in a whole big way.
Wow. That's so really quick. I'm just gonna take us through because I'm kind of bringing it through and qualifying some of the things that Charles said and relating it back to Skylanders. So Spyro comes from the Dragon Kingdom of the Artesians' homeworld. So in the
Artisans.
the Dragon Kingdom has 5 different realms.
Yeah, artisans. There was also peacekeepers, beastmakers, magic crafters, dreamweavers, and then there's Nasty's world.
Nice. Yeah. So Spyro comes from Artesians, like you said, and he's in the first game very eager and very excited to beat the villain, Nasty Nork. We talked about him.
Yeah, really don't. It was like Nasty Nork was like the easiest villain to do. All you had to do was just catch up to him and flame him twice.
Okay. So, and it looks like after beating Nasty Nork, he kind of started to get a little bit more mature, more laid back because he got his first fight under him.
Yeah.
So he then still trash talks enemy like Ripto in Ripto's Rage. But then in The Legend of Spyro, which takes place in a different timeline apparently. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say so.
Spyro was raised by dragonflies alongside his friend Sparks. After his egg was lost during an attempt to destroy his little nest. So he comes from a very rare line of purple dragons who are able to physically harness the power of the 4 elements.
Yeah.
Fire, water, earth, and air.
I think.
Yeah, but there's a lot more different dragons because
and that's what I'm seeing in the Skylanders. There's like 10 elements where like one of them is just undead.
Well, there's Spyro's the fire dragon, right?
Well, I think when it comes to Skylanders, there's undead, there's life, fire, metal,
yeah,
earth, wind,
yeah,
or unless they call it air.
Yeah.
And then I think there's earth.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing here is that, from the Skylanders franchise, it's a different timeline than the one from the first games, or the first 3 games. Regular one, Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon, and then Legend of Spyro is the one with the dragonflies. And then in Skylanders, it seems like he's still kind of more like the original Spyro, where he's strong-willed, excited.
Well, for me, the right now, I never played any of the Spyro games except from the McDonald's game of it.
Okay, so you didn't.
I do know Spyro from Skylanders, and I never knew it was from a different timeline because in the whole show, I watched like the whole series on Netflix to know Spyro.
Let me say it this way. consider the Skylander Spyro like a different variant from.
That's a great way of putting it, because like that's literally what it says here in the synopsis that I'm seeing. Instead of
You know how there's like different Loki variants.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Mhm.
It's messing up again.
you can fix it anytime you need.
Okay. That's better.
So it looks like what you just said, the variant is different, but he's more like a mix from both the beginning series from Insomniac. Like he's young, he's kind of arrogant, but he's still awesome and really strong. But then it looks like here he still comes from a very rare line of purple dragons in the Legend of Spyro, but in that story, his deeds are recorded in the Portal Masters of Old book. And then from that variant or that storyline, he was eventually invited to join the Skylanders by Master Eon and now lives in the Skylands. So like
I
you
think
said,
it was Egon.
Egon. Yeah. Okay. So like he basically, like a different Loki variant almost, but,
but
he was invited.
Yeah, but I'm
into this.
wondering why they haven't. If they made it this, well, technically, I'm surprised if this was the first story for Spiral this ever to be revealed on TV and streaming. Why they haven't made like an actual solo side side story of Spiral on his own? Because I don't think anyone's played the games to know that character. Because unless they only watched Skylanders only, because that would be the only thing to watch.
Yeah, some of the younger people.
Well, you think like in the fact that, my generation, we grew up with the first 3 Spyro games, which would be Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage, and Year of the Dragon.
Yeah, but I'm saying like show wise.
There was never a show about Spyro back in the 90s.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
just
kind of,
Skylanders.
So Skylanders is like the main timeline.
It's like Skylanders.
For the
Skylanders came around
character.
I want to say like in the mid 2000s.
That's why they
That's a good guess.
They kind of did his origin story, and also they even in season 2 they actually go right into like the thing you talked about, John, about all the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
They actually do go into that in season 2.
Yeah.
Because season 2 actually does reveal about where he came from, where all the other dragons are from.
That's cool.
Because one dragon he knows, and he kind of likes her a lot. Cinder, the black dragon.
Yeah, Cinder.
But it also leads into knowing about where he comes from.
Well, when we're first introduced to Cinder, is like in the Legend of Spyro. She was working for the She was working for the evil black dragon.
Yeah, but I know Cinder mostly in Skylanders was mostly working with some really bad people too, because one, she couldn't be trusted, and most importantly, even when we get into more of the later seasons, Spyro does turn to the dark side.
Yeah, that's where we get Dark Spyro.
Dark Spyro.
Yeah, but he's controlled by the evil black wizard, who wears the black cloak, and mostly, controls Spyro in Skylanders as, a spy from in. Well, what's the word? From in. From in.
Spy.
A spy into the team.
Yeah.
Because, and even for me, I was surprised because the voice of the original. Well, you know who voices Spyro in the first season, right?
I don't.
Look him up.
Let's see. So Spyro's Adventure was the first episode of Skylanders, and Skylanders was developed by Toys for Bob. So
No, I meant the show on Netflix. The one who voices.
Like
It's
Tom
a big.
Kenny?
It's a
let's
big.
see. Skylanders on Netflix.
What did it say? What was it, like Tom Kenny?
You'll.
Skylanders Academy. Right? Yeah, stealth elf. So let's see. First episode aired in 2016, and you're looking for who voices who?
Spyro.
Why don't they have him first? That's really weird. Hold on.
Are you looking into the cast?
Yeah, let me change my search a little bit. Justin Long. So for those of us, have you ever seen Dodgeball?
Oh, I seen Dodgeball.
You know
And,
the
like,
little guy with the black hair?
Yeah.
And he's just nervous, but he likes
Yeah.
that one girl from the cheerleading squad.
Yeah.
That's
And
Spyro.
And also, you're forgetting about another big movie, and he was in one of the best movies of all time in the Die Hard franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be in Live Free, Die Hard. He was in that movie.
Oh yeah, dude, they have a crazy lineup here. So,
But I'm glad he was Spiral. But later on down the road, and when we get into the later seasons, his voice changes. They change his voice.
Dude, can I just read you some of this cast?
Sure.
It's actually insane. All right, so Patrick Warburton plays Flynn. Do you know who Patrick Warburton plays on Family Guy?
Joe.
Yep, good job.
Joe Swanson?
He was also Kronk.
Oh, yeah, and he was also in that other...
I love a Kronk.
And also he was in that
I knew you were gonna say that.
other video game franchise where... Well, it's a game I actually did play. And it's Remember that other video game franchise with the... Well, it mostly has it was first made for the GameCube, and then eventually...
Are you talking about Hero's Tale?
Well, he mostly has a feather on his head, and also he's sort of... Well, he's a kid, and then he has a sidekick.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm freaking out over this cast right now. You have Ashley Tisdale as the stealth elf. You have James Hetfield, the lead singer of Metallica, plays Wolfgang. Jason Ritter plays Dark Spyro. Susan Sarandon.
So that was probably the voice who was changed.
Exactly. So it's literally a different person. Susan Sarandon plays Golden Queen. Wallace Shawn plays the Mabu inspector. Harland Williams plays Hugo. And Catherine O'Hara plays Chaos Sandra. Chaos Sandra.
And who voiced Bandacoot? Because Bandacoot was in Skylanders, and also his sister too.
Crash Bandicoot was in Skylanders?
Yep. And also, spoiler alert, eventually we also know
Eric Rogers.
He was Bandacoot.
Eric Rogers, and then Riz Darby in season 3.
Was Bandacoot's sister.
Coco.
Yeah, and did you know Netflix has plans to do a Bandacoot, TV series on Netflix?
That would make sense if they have the show. It looks like he's been on the Skylanders Academy.
Yeah, and also he deserves his own show because I'm starting to like Bandacoot a lot. And also it would make sense to give him his own show because in his show Spyro and the Skylanders did cross over into his universe. And he knows Spyro, but Spyro is different. Because the one he meets in his universe, in the show Skylanders, he knows that is not his Spyro, but it's a different one because he has a bunch of friends who from a different, universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it also kind of makes sense because but he knows this Bandicoot is sort of needs his help every single time, but it's also pretty cool though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
really
speaking of Crash Bandicoot and his sister Coco, she doesn't really make an appearance until like the third Crash Bandicoot game. But in the updated Crash Bandicoot games, you can you can swap between Crash and you can also play as Coco.
Well, that's cool.
I'm Charles,
And I'm Donald, and we'll see you for part episode 4 for the Walking Dead universe. Okay, bye-bye.